It was a rainy night in the deep woods, and the sound of raindrops tapping on the leaves and twigs was the only sound in the darkness. A group of hikers, seeking shelter from the storm, stumbled upon an abandoned cabin deep in the woods. The cabin was old and decrepit, but it was better than nothing. As they made their way inside, they found that the cabin was empty, with no sign of life. The hikers were tired and wet, and they decided to make themselves comfortable for the night. They started a fire in the fireplace and huddled around it, hoping to dry off and warm up. As they sat there, listening to the rain pound against the roof, they began to feel uneasy. They couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Suddenly, they heard strange noises coming from outside. It sounded like footsteps crunching on the wet leaves and twigs. The hikers peered through the windows, but they couldn't see anything in the darkness. They tried to convince themselves that it was just an animal, but the noises grew louder and more menacing. As the night wore on, the hikers started to see shadowy figures moving through the trees. They couldn't make out what the figures were, but they knew that they weren't alone in the deep woods. They tried to keep their cool and stay quiet, but their fear was palpable. Suddenly, one of the hikers noticed something odd. There were scratch marks on the cabin door, as if something had tried to claw its way inside. The hikers realized that they were in danger, and they huddled together, hoping to fend off whatever was outside. The rain continued to pour down, and the hikers could hear strange noises coming from all around them. It sounded like someone, or something, was trying to break into the cabin. They tried to barricade the doors and windows, but it was no use. Whatever was outside was determined to get in. As the night wore on, the hikers grew more and more terrified. They had no idea what was outside, or how to defend themselves against it. They tried to call for help, but there was no cell phone signal in the deep woods. Finally, just before dawn, the rain stopped. The hikers cautiously peeked outside and saw that there was no one around. They quickly packed up their belongings and left the cabin, running as fast as they could through the deep woods. As they made their way back to civilization, the hikers couldn't help but feel grateful to be alive. They knew that they had narrowly escaped a terrifying ordeal in the deep woods, and they vowed never to venture out on a rainy night again. Over the next few weeks, the hikers couldn't shake the feeling that something was following them. They heard strange noises coming from outside their homes, and they saw shadowy figures moving in the darkness. They couldn't explain it, but they knew that it was related to their experience in the deep woods. One day, one of the hikers decided to do some research. He discovered that the cabin they had stumbled upon was known to be haunted. According to local legend, a family had lived in the cabin many years ago. The father had gone mad and killed his entire family, and their spirits were said to haunt the deep woods. The hikers were shocked by what they had discovered. They had no idea that they had been staying in a haunted cabin. They couldn't help but wonder if the strange noises they had heard that night were the ghosts of the family, seeking revenge on anyone who dared to enter their home. The hikers decided to return to the deep woods, determined to find out the truth about the haunted cabin. They brought with them cameras and recording equipment, hoping to capture evidence of the ghosts that haunted the deep woods. As they made their way through the woods, the hikers could feel a sense of unease. They knew that they were entering a place of darkness and danger, but they were determined to uncover the truth about the haunted cabin. As they neared the cabin, they saw that it was even more decrepit than they remembered. The windows were broken, and the door was hanging off its hinges. They cautiously made their way inside, and immediately felt a sense of unease. The cabin was old and musty, and there was a chill in the air. They started setting up their cameras and recording equipment, hoping to capture some evidence of the supernatural. As they sat there in the darkness, listening to the rain pounding against the roof, they heard strange noises coming from outside. It sounded like someone or something was moving through the trees. The hikers tried to stay calm, but their fear was palpable. Suddenly, they heard a loud banging on the door. It sounded like someone was trying to break in. The hikers quickly packed up their equipment and made their way outside. They saw a shadowy figure moving through the trees, and they knew that they had to get out of there. As they ran through the deep woods, the hikers could feel the presence of something following them. They could hear footsteps crunching on the wet leaves and twigs, and they knew that they were being pursued. They tried to run faster, but their fear was slowing them down. Finally, they stumbled upon an old graveyard. They were exhausted and terrified, but they decided to take refuge there, hoping to escape whatever was chasing them. As they huddled together in the graveyard, they heard strange noises coming from all around them. It sounded like someone, or something, was moving through the darkness. They tried to stay quiet, but their fear was overwhelming. Suddenly, they saw a figure emerging from the shadows. It was a ghostly figure with hollow eyes and a twisted expression. The hikers screamed and ran as fast as they could, knowing that they had to get out of the deep woods before it was too late. As they made their way back to civilization, the hikers couldn't help but feel grateful to be alive. They knew that they had narrowly escaped a terrifying ordeal in the deep woods, and they vowed never to venture out on a rainy night again. But even as they tried to move on from their experience, they knew that they could never forget what they had seen and heard in the deep woods. They knew that the ghosts of the haunted cabin and the deep woods would always be with them, haunting their memories and their dreams.